Welcome in. It's the Ravens Rundown by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. Coming up on today's show, we have not one, not two, but three big trade rumors we're going to hit on today involving DeAndre Hopkins, Trey Lance, and Lamar Jackson. We'll go over all of those and more coming up in just a matter of moments. Before we do, today is a very great holiday for some, and I think some of you know what I'm talking about. Go ahead and spam it in the comment section. Shout it out. I want to see how many comments we can get to celebrate this very important holiday for some people out there. Enjoy responsibly, and we'll get started with today's show. So there's a new report out there that the Ravens still have interest in a trade for Arizona Cardinals wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins. And I know what you're probably thinking. Where's the money? Where's the draft capital to make this type of move? Very fair questions, don't get me wrong. But nonetheless, it is still a possibility, apparently. And you look at where the Ravens are at with the moves they've made in this receiving core already. OBJ signed the dotted line. You also, of course, brought in Nelson Aguilar. There's some big improvements, and we still have the draft to look forward to as well. So what about D-Hop, bringing him in from Arizona? Here's more from Adam Pac-Man Jones, doing some insider work on the Pat McAfee show. There's one more team up there that he missed. My sources said DeAndre Hopkins to Baltimore can still happen. So I know it's Pac-Man, and I don't know how much of an insider Adam Pac-Man Jones is, but nonetheless, believe it or not, there is a pathway to still acquire DeAndre Hopkins in a trade. Let me explain. Kyle P. Barber, who does a great job with the Baltimore Beatdown, did a whole feature on this of how this could happen. And I want to read you some of what Kyle had to say of what it would take to get this done. A blend of both is the way to operate. It's a safer bet to restructure some of Humphrey's deal over Stanley's, as he's been on the field more throughout the past few seasons. This, combined with a release or two from the wide receiver group, both to free up money and snaps for Hopkins, Beckham Jr., and Nelson Aguilar, would be more than enough. They'd also have enough to pay their pending rookie class, which would be cheaper, seeing as they likely need to part ways with a pick or two to acquire Hopkins from the Cardinals. So there it is. It can be done. You have to make your money work for you in true Dave Ramsey fashion, but it can be possible if you want DeAndre Hopkins. And it looks like the asking price when it comes to trade capital-wise isn't that bad as what we may have thought either. So it's a no-brainer. If you can pull this off, if you can bring in DeAndre Hopkins, even as he's a couple years older now, the impact that he'd still bring to this Ravens team would be incredible. The statistics last year, when he played in 9 games, he still had over 700 yards receiving with 64 receptions. You go back to what he did in 2020 with 1,400 yards and 6 touchdowns that year, 115 catches. I'm telling you, D-Hop has still something left in the tank as far as I'm concerned, and he would be a big asset for the Baltimore Ravens. So, Eric DeCosta, if you're listening, get it done. I am all in. Let's see DeAndre Hopkins in Baltimore. Now it's your chance to weigh in. Our pinned comment, yeah, you might get an ad break. If so, take advantage of it. Tell me what you think. Should the Ravens trade for DeAndre Hopkins or not? Y for yes, in for no. What do you think? Tell me in the comments section below. Next up, Trey Lance. Could he be headed to Baltimore? The rumors have certainly picked up about the San Francisco 49ers shopping Trey Lance on the trade market. And SI's Ravens Country has suggested the possibility of bringing Lance to Baltimore. Here's more from Tim Ham. While a trade for Lance between the Niners and Ravens is unlikely, time is running out for Baltimore to settle and it's currently experiencing with regard to its quarterback position. Reports were that the signing of Pro Bowl wideout Odell Beckham Jr. would tilt the tables toward Jackson signing his non-exclusive franchise tag and end the stalemates. But here we are. It's been, a week now since he signed to the dotted line, and nothing's happened yet. Now, I know some of you are going to point to Trey Lance and say, well, he hasn't looked good when we've seen him on the football field. And you're not wrong when you say that. He hasn't looked that great. But the sample size is so small. He has been hurt. I think it's still too early to call him a bust. And if Lamar doesn't want to be there, this might be the next best option for the Baltimore Ravens, because where they're at with the 22nd selection in the draft, the top 4 quarterbacks are all going to be gone by then. And obviously, things have come and go when you looked at the veteran quarterback options. The free agent quarterbacks have already signed. Looks like the trades that have been made, for the most part, have already been locked up. Trey Lance is the best quarterback that's kind of being shopped at the moment. This might be the best you could do for the time being if you want to look for quarterbacks outside the organization besides Tyler Huntley. The numbers, like I said, were not that great. A completion percentage less than 55% for his career so far, less than 800 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. But still in a rookie contract, still very cheap. This might be something worth looking into potentially. And the price tag, I mean, I think you could get this done with a second-round pick in 2024. Not even have to give up a pick this year. Maybe you might be able to pull this off with even a third or fourth-round pick. But for sure, I think the 49ers would be very pleased to move on from him and get a second-round pick out of it. I think for sure you could get that done if you want Trey Lance. So in a perfect world, as I've said many times before, you get a deal done for Lamar Jackson, you bring him back, but eventually you got to have an answer. I mean, you got to find some way or another to have a solution, and if Lamar isn't committed, if he doesn't want to be there, you got to be weighing your other options. This might be the next best option for now. Should the Ravens trade for Trey Lance? What do you think? I have one more trade rumor to get to here in just a second that we'll bring up involving Indianapolis and Lamar. But as far as Trey Lance goes, what do you think about this possibility? Tell me in the comment section. T for trade, P for pass. Should the Ravens trade for Trey Lance or not? Tell me what you think. T for trade, P for pass. Last one for you. Lamar to Indianapolis. Bleacher Report has suggested a Lamar Jackson trade to the Indianapolis Colts. And I got to tell you, this one is a very interesting opportunity for Baltimore. You look at where the Colts are at, and they are in position at number 4 overall to land either Anthony Richardson or Will Levis. And, you know, as I've said many times on this show, Anthony Richardson is quite the project. Will Levis, I have my doubts on. I think he kind of reminds me too much of Blaine Gabbert, not in a good way. And so if you're the Indianapolis Colts, then you have the opportunity to take Lamar and get a trade done. You very well should think about this. Because here's a trade package that Bleacher Report put together that makes, I think, if you are moving on from Lamar, this would be the best thing you could get. Let me keep showing this to you here on our screen. Let's go back to it in just 1 second. In a second, we'll go back to the trade offer. But let me get to this point I'm making here. If you're going to trade Lamar, you obviously want to maximize on what you can get. And with the draft just a few days away, I think this is your best chance to maximize on trade value and trade capital of with the draft right here, and then potentially being in position to get another quarterback. Right now at 22, you can't get one of the top quarterbacks. But if you like Richardson or like Levis, here's an opportunity that could present yourself to get one of those guys. Let's show that trade offer again. In this scenario that Bleacher Report is painting here, the Colts get Lamar, but Baltimore gets a first, a second at 4 and 35, and then a first and second again next year. And then obviously you're saving from the money you'd be spending at the quarterback position from Lamar either that you could spend at other positions. As I've said, I don't like the idea of trading Lamar, but this is the one that makes the most sense of a potential trade. Here's more from Alex K on this idea. Given his status as a non-exclusive franchise tag player, the Colts could technically acquire Jackson for only 2 first-rounders if they tender him a contract that the Ravens won't match. However, Baltimore could threaten to meet that number. The Colts would be better served coming up with a package that would guarantee Jackson winds up in Indy, a pair of first-rounders and some extra value, such as the number 35 overall pick, and a second-rounder next year could do the trick. Okay, so you've heard it there from Alex K. Where will Lamar play next season? Is it back in Baltimore, or do we see a trade? Does he end up elsewhere? Tell me in the comments section where you think he's going to go. Hit me up on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Tyler Jones Live. Going to be a big few days here on the channel next week as we get you ready for the draft and are going to be doing draft coverage. It is going to be a lot of fun. You want to stay tuned. We'll have you covered. Subscribe. Follow me on social media. I'll see you next time here on the Ravens Rundown.